I just want to welcome you, say we're delighted to have you here. I'll try and answer any questions you might have.
Sheldon Wallen, a political philosopher, said,
It's going to be heavy, I can tell.
You've been preparing for about 6 months.
Uh-oh, I'm in big trouble.
Well, hopefully not.
he said, "The strength of democracy has been its capacity to confront difference and to cherish it, not just to think about it as an impediment to rational decision-making. How do we succeed in dealing with the increasing diversity of our people? And how can we best make this diversity a benefit to our country?"
Well, you have to begin with this. Only in a democracy can you really succeed in seeing that diversity is fairly represented. Because if the government is not a democracy, generally it is not diverse, it is not receptive of varying points of view. It pushes its point of view, generally in an uncompromising area. And one of the things that I have always felt is that we don't really know how lucky we are to live in a democracy, that the basic rights that we take so much for granted, most of the people in the world don't have. And one of them, for example, is being picked up in the middle of the night and put into jail and have no recourse. That we have basic rule of law, we have due process of law, we have an independent judiciary, we have an ability for an individual to make a difference. And that is the diversity argument. The individual can make a difference. Now, the individual may not be smart enough to know how. The individual may not want to spend the time to do it. But those are all faults of the individual, not the system. The system is really set up so that you have both a representative democracy and a direct democracy, in that an individual, if that individual cares enough, can by referendum initiative get his or her or their views across. But that's a lot of work. A democracy, I think, to function right, depends on an enlightened, caring, and sensitive electorate. Not bias, not bigotry, not recalcitrance, but an openness, a willingness to look at the other side and to discuss, and to become knowledgeable. And in that way, a democracy is fallible, because if enough people want to make a mockery out of it, I suppose they can. But for me, it's the most treasured thing in my life, the fact that I live in this country with this form of government that does have a basic respect for the individual, does prize an individual making a difference, and for whom there is so much opportunity.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "They that can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." To what extent can we or should we consider laws to limit some freedoms for the sake of public safety, especially in light of the tragedy that happened today in Atlanta?
Well, today in Atlanta, a week or so ago in Littleton, let me answer your question directly. I think we do need more meaningful regulations on guns. Guns are not the only thing involved here. I think what's involved, there are three things as I look at it. The first is parents spend less time with their children. Parents are less apt to teach their children the difference between right and wrong. Fewer families have dinner together and really discuss their life. More, both parents are working in a family, and there is less time, and the family unit more often now than ever before in our history is broken by divorce or one thing or another. Schools are now so big that they don't teach these values, and they don't have the counseling or the care that's necessary either. I've been in elementary schools in California, K through 6, with 5,000 youngsters in them. They are factories. Point two, increasingly, young people are raised in a culture of violence. It is all around. It is very different today than when I was raised in the United States. Now you have youngsters spending time with the internet, with video games, some of which are diabolical, like Doom in their insidiousness. Music is violent, rap music. You have cable channels, you have it in the movies, you have it all around you. Constant violence. And then you have a nation awash in guns. Not hard to get one. Buy one on the internet, no questions asked. Go to a gun show, buy one, no questions asked. That's a combustible mix. I won't blame one thing or the other, but it's a combustible mix. And if you add to this, this violent way of problem solving, as opposed to when I was raised, you have somebody that doesn't fit in, that didn't get good grades, that doesn't feel accepted, that is jealous of somebody else, or even just has a bad day, and they go out and they get a weapon. The most sobering thing to me was last May in Memphis, Tennessee. A 5-year-old little boy took a gun off his grandfather's dresser, took it to school to kill the kindergarten teacher because the kindergarten teacher had given him a timeout the day before. Now that's what happens when a society is awash in guns, when there isn't parental supervision, and when the culture of violence is a method of problem solving. It permeates down to youngsters before the age of reason, even. And so there is a lot of sickness in our society, and I think we have to examine it on all these different levels. There's no reason to have assault weapons easily purchased. These are all military weapons. They're all made for wartime use. They're all made to kill a lot of people in close combat. You can't use them hunting. You don't need them for defense. So really, you get down to, does an individual have a basic right under the Constitution of the United States to collect these things abundanza, to plink at tin cans whenever they want, if there are no regulations on them at all, and it can be shown that overall they're becoming harmful to the society? I think not. I've never believed that the Second Amendment gives everybody the right to own any kind of military hardware they want. It doesn't make sense. I mean, think about government. It doesn't make sense.
I noticed you mentioned the video game Doom and rap music. Do you think that these are tools for an outlet of anger that the younger generations have? And if so, where do you think that stems from, and how can we work at the root of that instead of just suppressing the result of the anger?
I'll tell you what I think after watching this for a long, long time. If you are well-adjusted, I was going to use the word normal, but that's a bad word. If you if you're all together.
If you have good morals.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make any big difference to you one way or another. Mm-hmm. If you are of low maturity, all messed up, seeking vengeance, these things give you ideas of what to do. Mm-hmm. That's the basic thing. And there is no question about it. I've seen acts copycatted right out of movies, right out of television. So the question comes, in the free flow of public discourse, how much of your society or how much of your inflow do you want to have dominated by this kind of thing? And I think we need to debate it as a nation, and I think we need to come to some conclusions about it. And my conclusions are, have a lot of this stuff on pay TV. Let somebody, if they really want to see it and they're an adult, no problem. But should 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, should this become their standard fare? I'll tell you why. Because it is addicting. Because violence is something that attracts people. I read an interesting study the university did of kindergarten children sending in educators about guns. Here's a gun, don't touch it. It can hurt you, it can kill you. Don't touch it. If you see one, go tell your teacher, go tell your parents, don't touch it. The minute the educator left and left the gun unloaded there, the youngsters rushed over to touch it. They tried to fire it. They even used crayons for bullets. And that just, to me, despite the education, the youngsters turned right around and went for it. So there is some kind of attraction for some that this weapon of power brings about. The question really comes, what happens when the entire culture around that child is inundated with it? When the child sees brutality, perhaps in the home, sees it on television, as soon as they can read, it's in the newspapers, has no strong parental structure. I mean, how youngsters can make bombs in their bedroom and have guns in their bedroom and their parents not know is a very interesting thing. And it raises in itself a lot of questions. Should the parents have known?
Do you think that without the violent media that these children wouldn't be so attracted to powerful weapons, or is that something that's natural?
Absolutely, I think that. Absolutely. There's no question in my mind, because I'm from a generation where they weren't around. And I also was in the prison system in the 1960s. For 5 years, I set sentences and granted paroles to women convicted of felonies in California. I've been in every prison in California, most in Asia, a lot in Europe, etc. You didn't have the kinds of murders that we have today. You didn't have the degree of serial murders, the brutality. You had some, but not with the numbers that you have today. And I have to believe that the society is partially responsible for some of it. And by that I mean the family too. We're all part of that society.
In a recent speech, you said that global warming is the single greatest environmental threat facing our planet. And you also said that global warming is real, it's happening, and it will have a significant impact on human health, our environment, and our economy. Given the disbelief, outright opposition, and international complexity surrounding this issue, can our world governments move quickly enough to prevent the most serious consequences of this problem?
Answer unknown. At this stage, they are not, I can say that. I mean, the United States is the biggest energy consumer. We even refuse to improve mileage CAFE requirements in gasoline, which could extend energy use. We are sort of inured and attracted to our products. So I think substantial changes have to be made. I think that we're now going through enough of a change of weather pattern in La Nina and La Nina, and seeing raindrops get bigger and seeing the more traumatic incidents of weather, that more people are coming to believe that this is a real phenomenon. And I think the biggest single thing we could do that's easy to do are fuel efficiency standards and alternatives to the internal combustion engine.
In one article I read, it said you were instrumental in healing the San Francisco community in the wake of the assassinations of Mayor George Moscone and your colleague Harvey Milk. I was wondering, how did this experience change you or influence you?
Well, that was really, sort of a direct experience for me on what guns do. And what this was sort of the same phenomenon. Dan White felt rejected. He had resigned. He recognized it was a mistake. He wanted his appointment back on the Board of Supervisors. He asked the mayor. He had a lot of support for it. The mayor decided to appoint somebody else, and he took out his gun, cleaned it, went into City Hall, killed the mayor. I mean, it's the same, and Harvey Milk on the Board of Supervisors. It's sort of not getting what you want, and therefore you're going to go out and kill the individual that didn't give you what you want. I lost the question. What was it?
How did this experience change
Oh, how did it change me?
Yeah.
Well, it changed me. I changed my philosophy about government. My own views are very much in the middle of the political spectrum. I believe that when you govern diverse communities, it is strongly desired not to polarize that community. And if you work from the middle of the political spectrum, and you understand that some problems take very conservative solutions, and others take more liberal, progressive in the sense of new solutions, I think you can run a society from the center of the political spectrum. And I think diverse cities are best run from that part. I tried to run San Francisco in the 9 years I was mayor from the center. And I'd listen to both sides, but I'd make a decision based on what I felt was good, not for this group or that group, but for everybody. And it works. I really believe it works.
Congressman John Lewis spoke to us yesterday about the winds or spirit of history that just pick you up at certain moments. Looking back a few years, it almost seems as if the spirit of history picked you up from on the way to the governorship and put you down in the United States Senate. What did it feel like to be redirected so dramatically, and what did you gain from the experience?
Well, if the spirit of history is losing a race, I ran for governor and lost it, and then thought, well, I do want to participate in government, and I should take a different tact, and that tact was to run for the United States Senate. And I've been here for 7 years, accomplished some things, have sort of set myself on a path which is national and international in terms of interest and issues, and decided that now I'm going to pursue that path. And I will stay on it now. I thought about running for governor this last time and decided that, I had 6 years into this. Didn't make a lot of sense to turn around and do something else.
Congressman Lewis also said that he put himself in the way of history by doing what he believed was right and not exactly what was practical. Justice O'Connor, whom we met with yesterday, told us that in order to become part of history, she prepared herself for any and all unforeseen opportunities. Did you put yourself in the way of history, and if so, how?
Well, the question is, do the times make the individual, or does the individual make the times? And I've wondered about a lot about that over 30 years. And I'm not really sure that I know the answer. I do know this: all life is a learning experience. Life is filled with defeat after defeat after defeat. The only thing that matters is that you pick yourself up and go on. Because you're either defeated or you die at some point, or you get sick. So you might as well learn how to handle defeat. And you always continue to grow, mature, and become wiser. If you do these things, then I think there's such a thing as opportunity and timing. If you're in the right place at the right time, then the winds of history pick you up like a leaf. And then you're dependent on everything that has been fed into you up to that point.
Abigail Adams once wrote to her husband to remember the ladies. And by this, I think she
Remember
meant, remember the ladies.
Oh, okay.
And by this, I think she meant that women should have similar opportunities as men. What steps do you believe still need to be taken in today's society to reach that goal?
Well, it's still not a level playing field. I can tell you that. Men function differently than women do. And yeah, vive la différence for many of us. But in certain occupations, the stereotyping still plays a role. I've often said, well, let me ask you a question. If you found out you had a brain tumor, a malignant brain tumor, and you were recommended to 2 neurosurgeons, equally qualified. One was a man and one was a woman. Who would you go to?
I'd flip a coin.
You flip a coin. Truthfully. Really? Truthfully. Woman?
I would say man.
Man? Okay, how many of you, be honest, be really honest now, take yourself out of this room. You've just had a stark announcement from your doctor. You've got to go see somebody. It is major surgery. It is very careful surgery. You could well perish. 2 people, one a man and one a woman. How many of you would go to the woman?
Raise your hand.
How many would go to a man? There's nothing wrong with this, because say what you think.
I don't
It's
know
okay.
I don't know how you determine like if they're exactly.
No, I just gave you the criteria.
He's a scientist. You have to watch out for him.
Okay, raise your hands. Let's count them. Just men. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that right? Okay, a woman. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'll tell you how this has changed. I asked this question 20 years ago, and no one raised their hand for the woman. So you see, it is somewhat different today, but there still is that bias that when it comes to the sort of key things, the man has the edge. That is very true still in politics. Do me a favor, go and get that little drawing. I'll show you something. And I've carried this with me from the first day I was mayor. So I've carried it with me for 21 years. And I believed what's on this was true then, and I believe it's true now. This little drawing was sent to me by the then mayor of Ottawa, Canada. And it's a little sea otter floating on its back. And it says, "Whatever women do, they must do twice as well as a man to be thought of as half as good." Fortunately, that's not too difficult. And that's really true too. Because the bottom line is A, to show that you can get the job done, and to show that you're effective. That's what matters. It is being effective, it's getting the job done, and it's inspiring a sense of confidence that you can get it done. And then you level the playing field. But it takes a while. It takes a while.
Congressman Lewis was talking about that yesterday. He talked about this story where he went when he was like, how old was he when he went to get the library card? Like 8 years old.
1955.
1955? To get a library card, and they denied him because he was black. And just last year, he went back to the same library, and they had a book signing for his new book, and they gave him a library card.
That's wonderful, yeah.
So it takes that long.
Yeah. Oh, I can take you back to 1956. when I finished my Coro internship. And incidentally, Sandra Day O'Connor had the same problem. We're sort of at the same generation, same age about. And I'd graduated from college. I'd done a year's graduate work. I couldn't get a job.
Right.
And I'd go in for interviews, and I found people would take and hire a man and didn't have a college degree. And, you know, it was like women need not apply. Now, you're so lucky because the world has changed dramatically, and that's not going to happen to you. So that's a real leg up. That's a real bonus. In a way, too, may not be, because it may not make you tough enough. And this is a hard arena. It's take no quarter, give no quarter. It's a hard arena. So you really have to also develop drive, staying power, and motivation for 50 years. And, you know, many young people say to me, well, I don't know what to do. How do I choose my career? And I want to just end with this piece of advice, because I've got to move on. And I'm using myself, so you can say, well, it doesn't really apply to me. My father very much wanted me to be a doctor. And I went down to college, and at Stanford, first year they had Bio 1, 2, and 3. And 3 was genetics, and I got a D. And I came home and I said, look, Dad, I got a D. I don't really like it. I pithed this frog, it came loose, it jumped all over the room with the entrails hanging out. I don't really want to do this. And he said, he told me the first lie he's ever told me. He said, I got a D too. And my father never saw the south side of an A. So then I thought, well, what am I going to do with my life? And so I sort of began to pay attention to me. What attracts me? What do I want to do? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And I decided that I wanted to work to my strengths, not my weaknesses. And you know something? I truly believe that if you work to your long suit, not your short suit, whatever you do, you want to do it for a long time. You want to gain a portfolio of expertise. You want to be the best you can be. You want to work harder than anybody around you. As my father always said, get to work early, don't take a coffee break, and stay late. It works. It works. I've always noticed people around me who do just that. And even give promotions based on that. So it works. And I think that as you look at where you want to go in life, what you want to do, don't do what somebody wants you to do. Do what's in you, what comes easily to you, what you want to do, because it'll be defeat after defeat after defeat. And you can come back again. You can be like the mythical bird of San Francisco, the phoenix, who rises from its own ashes and goes on. And that's what life is about. So if you can do that, I think you can do what you want to do for 50 or 60 years. And I'll bet you don't get a heart attack. I'll bet you don't have a lot of other things, because it's what you want to do. Whatever that is.
We got here to see you today, and we really wanted to do that.
Oh,
And we really wanted to try to make ourselves worthy. And in a way, this trip really is about showing the possibility of what we do to extend ourselves as far as we can go to get the job done. And they've been going good 14 hours, 15 hours a day.
that's great.
Just to keep up here. And you have just, in a sense, validated their efforts for a whole year. I want to thank you very much.
I want to say one other thing. You know, this was a very good day because we won a big victory today on the gun control issue. The vice president came in and broke a tie vote in the Senate. And, you know, most of what we do is drudgery, sheer drudgery. A lot of it is boring, boring, boring. And a lot of times you ask yourself the question, why am I doing this? Well, today, when he broke that tie and we won something that we think is really important, in other words, making everybody at a gun show that buys a gun have to go through a gun check. Sounds small, but it was such a big point. It was so hard fought, and we won. And every one of us, I think, had this great sense of elation. That's what we're here to do. And when we do something like that, it changes law for all of the United States, not just for your town or your school district or your county or your state, but for everybody in the United States. And so that's the dimension. When we got our CLIP bill through earlier in the week, we felt that way, sort of as a staff. Staff had worked on it for a long time. We're kind of a team, and we got it done, and that's what we're all here for. So those are very nice things. How many of you know what you want to do in life? Tell me what it is. Who wants to start?
I'm going to be an ocean engineer. I'm going off to MIT next year.
Okay, you really want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing theater arts, broad field.
Yeah.
Somewhere in theater arts.
Okay, all right.
Oh, well, I'm going to Berkeley next year. I don't really know what I want to do, but I want to help people.
No laugh. That's very important because that's the way I felt.
I really don't know.
Okay, nothing wrong with that.
And
Find
I
out
just
what
really want to know.
find out what your long suit is.
I don't know either.
Okay, long suit. Anybody?
I want to be a mechanical engineer.
All right, a lot of room for that.
Well, I want to make films and I want to make rap music. I want to ask you one thing. Do you think there is rap music out there? Or have you heard rap music out there that's inspiring, that might get the youth out of that violent trend?
I have heard none that is, I feel is inspiring.
He actually has a group and they have a very positive.
Could you do it for me?
I can rap something for you right now.
All right, rap some. See, that's what it takes. You got to stand up and do it. If he said, "Oh, I'm embarrassed," I wouldn't do it. I would say, "You're never going to be a success."
Most inspirational.
I figured all my raps are pretty positive, so I'll just spit anyway. Okay. I summon the chosen arising needlessly to serve. Over so many seconds and even eons we must curve. The nervous circular cycles rotate around the world's renown. After the egotistical maniacs are found, they put down. For the glory of this story is yet to be told. Picture the disappearance of coins, dollars, and even gold. Dimensions fall like origami. And the people that once saw me as a boy cannot witness Malcolm X or even Gandhi. The family of one mother, and that mother be Mother Earth. We all sisters and brothers. We not trying to take no worth from one another. Why is the picture hazy? Are we lazy? Is it that every time somebody gets hurt, they say you can't phase me? You amaze me with the lack of ignorance that gives excuses. Well, look for the producer when it's you who produces all the answers. What sucks is you create the problems too. The fatal plan understands, but you still like, phew, belly pass and keep on asking. But the lashing has to cease. You're over here talking down on violence. When your words create no peace, the beast is coming. And it's looking for human beings who have been numb in their feelings. Your best is all dealing with certain aspects that need healing.
Well, you see, in a world of diminishing firsts, I've just had a first. That's the first constructive rap I've heard. Anybody else want to say what they want to do?
Some kind of engineering.
He's
Okay.
also headed to MIT.
All right.
I'm not sure. I have some ideas maybe, but I'm not sure I'm going to go to UC Davis next year though.
Terrific.
I'm not sure yet. I
All right.
She's a horsewoman.
Oh, really? All
Very
right.
talented with horses. She's
Ah,
I don't
well,
know, maybe a veterinarian or that type.
Possibly
Yeah.
large animal vet.
great.
I want to be a doctor.
Good. All
I want
right.
to be a lawyer.
She
Okay.
argues terrific.
You do it a lot. You always ask the good questions.
Anybody else?
I don't know, but I'd like to put my life to good purpose.
Let me say one last thing. particularly for the women. There's one thing you didn't say. I want to be a good mother. And never underestimate the importance of it. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Very clearly made this worth all of the effort.
Oh, well,
very
thank
much.
you, thank you. I'll take this back hopefully for another 20 years.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're welcome. Sure, that's right. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good luck to all of you. Take care, be well. I know I don't have to say be good.
That's my job.
Yeah. Thank you. Good luck. You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Senator Feinstein.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.
Wow.